I know what it's like to lose, to feel so desperately that you're right, yet to fail nonetheless. As lightning turns the legs to jelly, I ask you to what end? Dread it? Run from it? Destiny arrives all the same, and now it's here. Or should I say, I am. Yes, because today we're going to be having a look at the Beast Kingdom Avengers Infinity War. This is Egg Attack Action Thanos. Before we step no further into the realm of this review, let's go ahead and take the tape measure. Figure out how tall Thanos stands. Egg Attack Action Thanos stands at 7¼ inches in height. He gets himself a display stand, which brings up a rather interesting point I'm going to talk about in a second, but the display base is actually what I believe to be the same base as what they use also with the the 8 action figures also coming to us from the folks over at Beast Kingdom. Other than for the fact it's not black, instead we get a clear presentation here. I think it's the same, at the very least, the same bottom display base. On the top we have Avengers Infinity War. On the front placard, so to speak, we have Thanos. And then the base itself, while this can rotate back and forth, this also has a hinge back and forth as well. But it doesn't seem to have any sort of waist clip. I looked at the instructions as well as checked the manual. So I'm not really quite certain how Thanos is supposed to stand on it. Whether he actually just gets supported on it like so, which I think is the main, that's probably the best way, and the intended purpose is simply just having him sitting over top of it. What I also did too, so that it wasn't as intrusive, at the beginning of this review, I tilted the stand slightly back as well. So instead of having him sitting on it, he's actually leaning against it. This may not be the suggested way to do it, but at the very least, when you are displaying him then, it supports him from the back. So the figure is not going to topple, at least backwards. And again, you're not going to see the stand as much. But like I was saying, I'm just going to move Thanos over for a second. I want to bring in Iron Spider, which we did have a look at another review. You may notice something rather interesting about Iron Spider. No, not the fact that I've got the arms in place, but he did also come with a display stand. I think what I might have done is when I was doing the review of him, I may have taken the base out and just slightly put it to the side. So when I did the review of him, I didn't realize he had a base. I should have had a V8. But yes, he does also feature a same display base as Thanos, except, of course, Iron Spider's changed on the front from, of course, his over there. Also, something different, too, is that the clip on the back here, he gets himself a waist clip, which is now almost identical to what we also got with the Batman v Superman figures that we looked at as well, also from Beast Kingdom. So I think this is pretty much the exact carbon copy base, other than for the fact that they've swapped it from being black to now a clear. The clear works extremely well. It's not, like I said, overly intrusive with the coloring. Black could have also worked quite well as well. But I did want to mention this, because somebody did pick up the Iron Spider, and in the comments section of his review said, I'm certain he also came with a base. You are absolutely correct, sir. He did come with a display base. I should have had a V8. Like I said, I probably put it to the side and didn't realize that at the time I was shooting the review of this guy here. The figure gets himself some pretty cool looking accessories, so let's go ahead and take him off the display base. I'll probably just move the base over here for a second. Don't worry, I'm not going to forget it. So putting the figure right here, he comes with a series of interchangeable hands. He comes with a total of 4 hands. He comes with the Infinity Gauntlet, a variation to the hand of that. He also does come with an interchangeable face, but I suppose before we do that, we'll just kind of move everything over. And we'll have a look at the defaulted head, and of course the body that will not change when you swap the head out. The defaulted head is that more of a sterner, more of a serious sort of face sculpt here on Thanos. The coloring is exact to what I would expect for him to appear in the movie as a very subtle, almost like a pastel purple, like a Concord grape purple, which is very fitting for Thanos. Despite for the fact that they didn't add a whole lot of paint here, you do get some really great sculptings happening in the head itself. The scarring, of course, and then you've got scarring around the lip area. The trademark Thanos Chin is very well presented here on this figure. I do feel like, despite for the fact that the arms match the coloring of the head, the neck, for some strange reason, does come across a little slightly darker. It's not quite the same coloring as the head. But if you keep the head low enough, you're really not going to necessarily see it. Or at the very least, if you're not going to spin the figure around, you're also not going to see that slightly darker shade of purple happening here. The outfit is of a dark, almost dark blue color with some nice transitioning, even darker blue happening further up. Accent in this glorious looking gold color, which makes appearances and peeks its way out in the top areas of the boots here, which again we'll spend some more time talking about when we look at its posability. They've even sculpted the under treads, the under sole areas of the feet as well. But this gold is gorgeous. Paint is pretty clean. I don't see any notable areas in which the paint has had any mistakes or the way it was applied. But again, I like the dark transitioning between the darker blue and the slightly lighter blue. I guess there could be maybe just a little few areas that miss their mark, but otherwise, again, it's more of a gradual. It doesn't really line itself up to any specific sculpting, so you could get away with for the fact that it has a little bit extra mileage here, a little bit of extra paint that's run down. The skirt area, by the way, is of a softer plastic, and it is also a separate piece. Doesn't hinder necessarily the posability. In fact, I could see why they kept this as a separate piece and not attached it to the lower torso, simply just because it would make things a little bit more hectic trying to move lower limbs like lower torsos and upper torsos. Good idea, actually, that they kept this as a separate skirt. Texturing on both the lower pant area as well as the top. You get really nice looking sort of graded cross-hatching texturing happening in the upper torso, and some rather nice slotted texturing happening here in the legs. Again, it's exactly what I would expect for an Egg Attack version. A slightly more stylized, I don't want to dare say cuter, which I guess ultimately I have just said now, but it is definitely a more cuter, simplified version of Thanos, and he looks awesome. Now, one of the things you can do with the head is he does have 2 variations to the head sculpt. This one here, and then the smiling head. To remove the head, it's easiest, I find, if you pinch the ears together. You could get your fingers behind the ears and pry it that way, but I find the easiest is just sort of pinch the head, and then just hold on to the back and pull it right off. There you can see the slightly varied color there from the neck area to the top of the head, but we'll put the faceless Thanos there just for 1 second. Just want to show you how the face works here. If we spin it around, he's got independent joysticks happening to control each of the eyes independently. So if you move the joystick left and right, ergo, you will also move the eyeball, I should say, up, down, left, right. And you can get variations to that as well. Being it independent joysticks, though, you do run the risk, of course, giving them slightly weird offset eyes. So you may want to just adjust those accordingly. And the last thing, of course, you don't want to do is give him the cross eyes. But that's really cool. I like that. So we'll just kind of adjust his vision so he's not cross-eyed. The joystick, when it does get to the inside here, when it gets to the side of the head, it's a little harder to kind of get your finger around there. But there's the one head sculpt. Likely, though, the head sculpt I'll probably display him with, though, is this glorious looking smiling face. And just so you can see the difference between the two. The eyes and everything else, I'm going to guess, are relatively almost carbon copies to one another, except for the smile, which looks to be the varied difference between the two. It, like the other, also has its own independent ball joint or joystick inside, in which you can control the eyes. So again, if you want to have let's say he's looking at the gauntlet we're about to add, so we want to bring those eyes over this way, making sure they don't look like they're cross-eyed. Okay, and then we can go ahead. There's a little slot on the back, or groove, and then there's a little plastic, very noticeable plastic tab sticking out the back. Just line those two up, pop it in place. Pretty much seams that off rather nice. There's not too many gaps showing. It may change a little bit when you start rotating his head, but otherwise it's pretty good though. Okay, so we'll put him down here for a second. He comes with a series of interchangeable hands. Currently, I've just kept the defaulted hands, the ones that would have come out of the packaging, which are just essentially a pair of closed fists. I like these, though. He does come with, like, grabbing hands. If you want to have him in an action pose, say, against the Iron Spider, he has a pair of grabbing hands. And then he has what I always love the most about figures when they include these dynamic fanning hands. Let me explain why I say fanning hands, because it does look like, well, it does look slightly like a fan, really. I love these hands quite a bit. And probably I will end up displaying him at the very least with one of them. I'll keep the other hand on the other hand to the Infinity Gauntlet. Taking off the hands are extremely easy. I have no problems whatsoever removing those. And we just replace the hand out that we want. And again, like you can, I don't know, you can display him any which way that you want. Let's have a look at the Infinity Gauntlet hand, which comes in two variations. This is the more fanned out hand, or relaxed hand, or partially open hand, however you would like to describe it best. Made up of fantastic metallic gold, which is a contrast, the shinier metallic gold here, a nice contrast to the otherwise very matted gold on his torso here. You can see all the gems are present and accounted for. Nice texturing also in the forearm area of the glove and the upper glove area. And he also does have the closed fist version of this as well, which essentially is the same hand. There's not really much different other than the fanned out fingers. This one here just has the closed fingers. And to replace that, just really it's the exact same way as what we replaced this hand here. So we just pop that into place. There we go. And now to remove and change this, you're not actually taking the hand out. Rather, what you're taking out is the forearm. So just grab onto the top portion of the arm and just wiggle this off. I've had it a couple of times where this pops off, the full arm, but as you can see, it just sits back very comfortably into the socket area there. And while holding onto the forearm, we just wiggle, 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 pop that back into place. And again, mileage may vary depending on how you want to display him, but that is very cool. I myself would likely display him with the smile, with the eyes slightly tilted to the side, and looking at his new prized possession. And that looks very, very cool. And again, just to show you how he stacks up, we'll just move everything over. Take Iron Spider off his display stand, which now is present and accounted for. Just put the Iron Spider next to Thanos. Thanos is taller, as he technically should be. There's no considerable drastic height differences between the two. The Egg Attack figures generally stay within the confines of pretty much this size, but there are variations, of course, the height between Thanos and Iron Spider here. I think these show exceptionally well side by side. Beast Kingdom has really done a whole lot of different Egg Attack action figures. I'll love to pick up more of those in future videos. If you would like to see more of those, let me know down below in the comments section. Anyways, let's look at his posability. Okay, so his head rotates all the way around. He's got that ball joint happening here. Sometimes when you do rotate the head, you do notice a little bit of the seam starting to detach from itself. It never be a case where the head, or face rather, will pop off in its entirety. If anything, you may just start seeing a little bit of more of a seam starting to show up here. Hinge up and down on the head. I did think at one point he did have a secondary ball joint, but I don't think he does. It only seems to be that ball joint that sits in the head cavity. The arms rotate all the way around. This arm's a little on the loose side. This one's not as bad. The arms rotate, and then you can pull the arm out literally from the socket, and that can also retract as well. So you get a little extra mileage happening here. His arms are much bigger than that of Spider-Man, so even though you are bringing this out slightly, it doesn't give you much extra clearance, but it does give you just a little bit more than if the socket was completely retracted. You can see it's much more closed, fitted to the torso here. You have a hinge happening in the forearm, which also allows the forearm to rotate. Hands also work the same way, hinge back and forth. The upper torso has a ball joint. The lower torso has a ball joint. Talking a little bit again about that skirt, you can see how that skirt stayed completely out of the way. Good idea, not gluing that in place. And then as for the legs split out, forward, back, bend at the knee, a rotation on the lower leg, and then for the feet itself, or themselves, the hinge back and forth. This tilts slightly, a little bit of an ankle pivot, and you also have toe articulation. All the toes bend on their, well, together, collectively. They all bend on their own. And there you have Thanos. A really nice looking figure, superposable, as what one would expect from the folks over at Beast Kingdom. And if you are in the market for cuter renditions of some of the characters, really Egg Attack action figures are really the best way to go. Much like Spider-Man, if you are interested in acquiring this one for yourself, you should be able to find them at your local comic book store. Now, I know what you're thinking. How do I find a local comic book store? Well, you can head over to www.comicshoplocator.com, put in your zip code or postal code. Bazinga, you got yourself a local comic book store. No, I'm not sponsored by Comic Shop Locator, but that's where you can find these figures at your local comic book store. If for some slight chance you can't get them at your local comic book store, check with the person that works there. They'd be more than happy to get it for you, and like a snap, you'll have it in your possession. Probably shouldn't have used the term snap. Is it too soon? Too soon, yeah. Today, though, we were having a look at the Beast Kingdom. This was Egg Attack Action. By the way, the product code on this was EAA-059. This was the Avengers Infinity War Thanos. A fantastic looking piece. Highly would recommend it. If you guys want to check out some more Beast Kingdom figure reviews, there's a playlist on this channel designated specifically for Beast Kingdom. And also, while you're at it, make sure you head over to the main page and scroll down the section that says videos. See if there's anything that you may have missed along the way. This will be 100% a guarantee that you'll never miss out on any previous videos that I've posted, and any future videos will also be found the same way as well. We're going to be having a look at some more future Beast Kingdom figure reviews, so we'll be staying tuned for that. And other reviews will be coming your way also. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.